Turn 11. Let's see here. Did we wipe to this? I don't remember. No. Yeah, from a healing standpoint, turn 11 is pretty boring, honestly. There's just not a whole lot that you have to do other than know when the resonate damage is coming. Resonance damage, resonate. So, one thing that we do differently is I think most groups have both tanks stand in front of the boss to absorb the damage. We never did that. Even when we were in, like, doing progression, we just didn't see the point in doing that. We would just rather have the off tank switch and DPS and just, you know, just smash the boss rather than try to mitigate the damage. We just didn't see any point because the healing a single target was really easy. So we have never ever used two tanks. I don't think we ever will at this point, and that's the only reason. Like, it might make it a little bit easier. Quite honestly, I just think it's easier just to heal a single tank anyway, even if they're taking more damage. It just puts more pressure on you to make sure you're hitting your heals in those windows. Otherwise, you know, tank will die. Yeah, there's a couple. I guess there's a couple of things I can go over here, but this is a pretty boring fight from a healer standpoint. Yeah, this is one of the fights that you could probably actually do quite a bit of damage. So the resonance damage, there's the first hit. You can see it took a pretty decent chunk of damage. So nerve gas, this is just super easy. You should be able to preemptively move. So right now there's 3 telegraphs, and they're pretty much always all going to be the same. So this one is going to make me move. So there's going to be one that's basically on my side of the room, and there's going to be one, the next two are either going to be my side of the room or in front of the boss. So I can preemptively position myself so I won't have to dodge or move as far as the telegraphs are going off. Also during this time, there's no damage going out, so you can sit here and you can DPS as much as you'd like. If your group is comfortable and tends to perform well, then yeah, you can use a lot of DPS globals. If your group tends to die a lot, then you may want to hold on to your mana and make sure that you have enough to either carry heal or help with raising if needed, if it's really bad. But these nerve gas, that's why I'm moving towards the front kind of right leg of the boss, because I know the telegraphs are where they're going to be. So you'll see I've already positioned myself. I barely have to move. And the next one is going to be on the tanks. So I'm already moving before the telegraph appears. There's the tanks. So that type of familiarity, again, that's gives you just more time to min-max with your GCD usage. And if for some reason people are in need of healing, again, it just frees up. You might get an extra GCD or two just from good movement. So after this nerve gas, I know that a resonance is coming on the tank. The way I time it, I will, in this case it's a barrow field, but in the future it will be a resonance. But the way I typically time it with my spell speed, I'll cast and I'll interrupt the spell, and then I'll cast again, and the heal should land right as it's going. So let's see here. Let me actually wind this slightly. So this part, you can kind of see the animation. It's like kind of these the exhaust from the missiles that are shot up on the boss's head. You can hear it in your head, in your speakers as well. You'll hear like missiles being shot off, and that's my Q. I don't use ACT triggers, so I don't have something tell me, oh, this ability just fired off, so whatever. I've never used an ACT trigger, and I feel like I can perform just as well as someone who is. So that's really my cue for that ability. When I hear those missiles immediately going off, or when I hear those missiles going off, I'm looking for the stack symbol. Basically the symbol on one person's head to either stack. If it's not on anyone, then you are moving and spreading out. So you can see I'm one of the first people to move out. Granted, you know, melee aren't really going to move out, but you can see I'm well away from everyone well before this resolves. There's the symbol I was talking about for stacking. That's the cue that I use. Again, I don't have any sort of trigger set up for this. Okay, so here's another critical element of this fight. I kind of screwed up there with cleric stance not turning off. So let me see how close I can rewind here. So boom, missiles are shot up. I'm spreading out. Good. You can see I'm healing because my cleric stance did not turn off. I'm healing everything in cleric, which is really dumb, and it takes me a little bit to actually even notice that. Okay, so on the tank, you can see that he's stunned. The paladin to the right of his nameplate that I have selected, you see that he's stunned. That means secondary head is about to come out and apply a vulnerability debuff to him. In this, we tank switch here. And from what I understand, a lot of people don't tank swap. They actually just provoke in advance and have the vulnerability switch to the off tank and then switch. They just keep it on that main tank that they've assigned. But us, we just do tank swaps altogether. So I know that the person I'm going to need to heal is the person who is not stunned when secondary head is going off. So if you lose track of who's doing what. So the way I handle this, I wait for the cast to resolve. So I actually wait for it to resolve, disappear, and maybe about like half a second to a second after it's gone, I will start my Cure 2 cast on the other person who's not stunned. And you can see that it lands right as he dropped to 3.8k and my Cure 2 hits right as it's landing. So that's the way I handle healing for that. There's more resonance damage. So again, here's Nerdgraph's telegraph. It's in the front of the boss. So I'm going to move to where that telegraph is. Now it's on the other side of the room. Now the last one is going to be on our side of the room. I already know that. I've positioned myself so I don't have to move. So I can go ahead and keep DPSing here. And you'll also notice that I move. Right now I'm trying to finish my cast, but I will start moving the moment it disappears off the ground, as to not get cleaved by resonance here. Missile shot up again. There is a stack target symbol there. Okay, so I see that the warrior is stunned. I know that secondary head is coming, and that my heal target will be the paladin. That's even before the cast is happening. You'll see that I start the cast is now gone. It's happened. I'm waiting about half a second to a second to start my Cure 2 cast. Actually, I waited a lot longer this time because he didn't actually even need it. So that's what Cure does. So nerve gas, back of the room again. Nerve gas here. It's going to be in front of the tanks. That was kind of a bad combination. Just had to interrupt my cast a lot. More resonance damage. Turn cleric off. And transition to the next phase. So it's really important that you position yourself or that you move preemptively, the boss will move towards the center of the room, and if you collide with his the barrow field, that's the green, I'm sorry, the blue ring under the boss. If you actually go in there, it'll apply like heavy to you and you get damaged, and it's just not good. So be sure to just move preemptively. We generally have people call it out that the boss is about to transition. I don't think any of us really need that call at this point, but if you're having trouble with people getting out and not getting hit by that, then you may want to assign someone to say, hey, it's going to transition, be sure you clear out of the center of the room, that sort of thing. Because that happened to multiple people, including myself during progression, because we were still learning the fight. So it helps when someone just said, hey, it's coming, move out. Like, oh yeah, that's right, cool, thanks. Alright, so for this part of the fight, we have the paladin taking the gravity node, which is the square or the cube to the right. And then the weapons node on my left, we have the warrior taking it, and the group clumped up there. The scholar is actually with the group. I'm standing in the middle, and these are constantly being moved kind of around the room. My main heal target is the paladin to make sure he keeps keeping him alive, and for I believe at times the scholar will be out of range of the paladin, so it's again on me to keep him up. The other thing is, anytime I see someone die, we have a resurrection priority order. It's always on the scholar to do it first. So anytime someone dies and I see that raise icon, I know that I have to cover the scholar's assignment, heal assignments, while that stuff is being taken care of. Sometimes there's more than one raise to be done. So that's the way that we handle raises. I rarely have to raise. It just has to get really damn bad for me to start raising. I, again, just pretty much try to slowly heal as that is being taken care of. As far as healing for the weapons node, targets are our party members that are hitting the weapons node. I do spot healing. I try to assist with some Medica 2s and stuff for the AoE damage there. So that's pretty much what's going on in this part of the fight. That was a little early, and the reason that Medica 2 cast was early was the monk who had been raised was a little low. So even though it was primarily overheal, I wanted to make sure he lived through that blast, so I casted it early there. Otherwise I would have interrupted it and had it go off after the damage. So those are all just little, like, subtle things that go across my mind when I'm playing. Different things that I think about, why I do what I do. I don't just usually have a pretty good reason as to why I'm doing something. I popped Presence of Mind because we were falling a little bit behind in healing, and to help catch up. So for this part, I could help out with damaging the electric node if I was really trying to min-max DPS. That's something I would do. But I use this a lot just to regen mana, because the last part of the fight, it isn't a hard part, but it's probably what holds a lot of groups back from being able to complete it. The tethers. So I don't have a set plan. Sometimes I'll DPS, sometimes I won't. So Nerve Cloud is just lots of AoE damage. See, with Sacred Soil down, the damage actually resolves pretty late after the cast, so I try to just med 2 or have a Divine Seal med 2, and then I'll actually follow it up with a med 1 as well. It's usually more than enough. So nanospore jets. Wow, the quality is kind of awful, isn't it? These are the tethers. So you'll notice that there's a set of blue tethers, 2 blue tethers, and there'll be like a two red-green-ish tethers. And the way this mechanic works is the same color, the 2 people that are targeted by the same color, they have to be close to one another. Otherwise, lasers start firing off, they take vulnerability damage, and they will not survive for very long. The other thing that that needs to happen is the 2 groups, red and green versus blue, have to stand apart from each other. If they get too close, the same thing happens. Lots of lasers, vulnerability damage, and death. And another thing is, if one person in the tether dies in the same color, the other person automatically dies as well. So both people of that color need to stay alive. Otherwise, you're losing too. So the way we do this is, if the tanks are targeted, which they are right now by the green and red, they will just stay in front, and the other tether group will stay at the back of the boss. In the event that none of the tanks are targeted, if it's DPS and healers that are targeted, the blue tether will go towards the left of the boss, and the red-green tether will be on the right side of the boss. So that's the set positioning. As the tethers are going out, nothing else is happening. Everything changes once the nerve gas telegraphs start. Okay, so what happens on TeamSpeak for us is, as soon as the first nerve gas is going out, we will call one of the groups to be in front, to anchor in front of the boss and dodge as close to that side of the boss as possible. And so in this case, since blue is close to where the boss is facing, blue will anchor and dodge as close to the front of the boss as possible. Red and green will dodge as very close to the back of the boss and away from blue as possible. So also, the groups will move left. So right now, blue can move, the way they're positioned right now, it's an equal distance running left or running right, and we have preset that those groups will run to their left. So you can see they have dodged, and they're going to preemptively move back to the front of the boss, since, you know, that's what we have set up. Since they had preemptively moved, the back now has moved towards whatever, the back right of the boss currently. If we're facing him, I guess the left side there, you can see the tanks. I have one targeted. Had they not moved, could have been risk, had been risk of being too close and stacks and lasers going off. So this is about as easy of a dodge pattern you can get. This is optimal. And there's a resonance right after the 3 nerve gases, so you need to make sure that if you are dodging, you're in a tank and you're near the front, that you rotate back extremely quickly so you don't get cleaved. That's really the only change of this last phase, is that added mechanic of the tethers. Everything else stays the same. Same thing, secondary head. I see that the warrior is stunned. I know I'm going to have to heal the paladin. Cure 2. After the cast resolves, it hits the paladin as that damage is resolving. Very easy. Nanospore jets on the tanks again. Tanks are blue this time. Red-green is in the back. It's on the monk. Both monks. So again, we're gonna wait for the first nerve gas telegraph. Oh, no, we're not. We're gonna actually spread out and then stack. No, probably. Okay, so again, tanks front. Okay, so in this case, you really could have called either group to go to the front or the back, because they are both kind of sitting at the flanks of each boss, or of the boss. So I think what they've done is they've called the tanks to go to the front, the red and green group to go to the back. The black mage was not stacked with the group, and that's why the dodge was a little weird. You want to have your players stacked up with the tethers in the back, if that's the case. Secondary head. Again, stun on the paladin. That time, I think what happened there, we had to talk about this. I think the warrior turned on Defiance. Oh, we wiped. Okay. Yeah, there's a it's on Nico. Well, I feel kind of dumb for going over this one. I didn't realize we wiped. Wait, what? Did we kill it? Okay, so I'll just kind of fast forward to this part, I guess. So I've got tether this time with our bard. So again, first nerve gas goes out. We're going to call, someone going front or back. Looks like we've called blue to go front. So again, we're going to move to our left, staying near the back. I'm preemptively moving back. And that's pretty much the fight right there. All the different scenarios. That's the indicators that I've used. I mentioned the stun on the tank to know which target will be secondary head. I've also mentioned the audio cue from the missile shooting up to know exactly when to stack or dodge, that sort of thing. And again, I don't use any ACT triggers. I don't have anything like that set up. I am doing all of this manually on my own. Oh, so cool. They announced the patch, 24th, huh? Thank God. I'm actually glad it's towards the end of the month. So yeah, that's pretty much turn... That's turn 11. There's really nothing else to say as far as healing goes, and that's pretty much what I'm trying to give insight on is what I'm doing, the things that are, crossing my mind, and kind of a general idea of our group's tactics and what TeamSpeak sounds like and that sort of thing. That's 11. Let's go on to 12.